it's raining most morning. It's just an odd weather.
Yeah, I feel like I'm your colleague in an elevator and you're making small talk with me.
Ding! We just arrived.
Oh, yeah.
After you. Welcome to another live session with us about traveling in New Zealand. So we are the New Zealand travel expert. But why? Laura is going to tell you that in a minute. In the meantime, we're going to be answering all your questions about traveling in New Zealand. But why us?
Well, this is Robin and I'm Laura, and we're the team behind BackpackerGuide.NZ, which is New Zealand's largest travel guide. So anything you need to know about traveling in New Zealand, whether it is for just a short trip or even a full year of doing a working holiday, we have loads of information free to look up on that website. But because we know some of you guys don't necessarily want to be reading on a website all day, we also do this live Q&A session on YouTube every single Sunday at 8 a.m. New Zealand time. So you guys can come and ask your questions on the live chat. So just so you know, for the times around the world, which has been updated.
Yes, I've updated that this week. So if you are in the UK, it's usually 8 p.m. on the Saturday. If you're in France, it's 9 p.m. or 21h on the Saturday. If you're in the USA, it's 3 p.m. EST and 12 p.m. PST on Saturday as well. If you're in India, it is on Sunday at 12:30. I think it's a.m.
Should be a.m.
It's a.m. Yeah. Oh, look at that. I'm just going to erase that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing how that works.
Yeah, crazy, right? Oh, there you go. And if you're in Australia, it's 6 a.m. on a Sunday. So that's the time that we are here every single week to answer your questions.
Absolutely. And also, if you do have questions throughout the week, you just need to put them in the comments of any of our YouTube videos, because we also go through those questions during this live Q&A session as well. But of course, the best place to come and ask your questions is on the live chat. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask away right now.
All right. So while you guys are getting warmed up, we already have Adil that says hello from South Africa. How are you doing? Is it warm over there, or is it? It's pretty cold right here in New Zealand today, but yeah. So while you guys are getting warmed up and asking us all your questions right here in the live chat, we are going to be answering some questions that people sent us before during the week on any YouTube comments. And so the first question I want to cover, because I think it's pretty topical, since last week we talked a lot about Tongariro Alpine Crossing, comes from. So the first question we have today comes from Tejasvi Nikam on YouTube. And she says, "Hi, Robin and Laura. Your videos and articles are of immense help." Thank you. I am doing the Northern Circuit 3-day hike next month. And I was wondering if there is any garage or warehouse sales where I can buy the hiking gear like jackets, shoes, sleeping bag at thrift rates. I am traveling from India and thus wouldn't want to carry the hiking gear across the world. Looking forward to your input here. Thanks a ton. All right. So first up, what is the Northern Circuit?
First of all, yeah, that is one of the great hikes, or the great walks, sorry, of New Zealand. It's in the Tongariro National Park, and it also incorporates the Tongariro Crossing, which most people who know about New Zealand have heard about that. So yeah, it's on the North Island, 3-day hike, and yeah, there's loads of multi-day hikes in New Zealand worth checking out. So if you don't want to cart all your hiking gear from your home country, or maybe you just don't need hiking gear in your home country and only want to do it in New Zealand, then there are a few options to get slightly cheaper gear in New Zealand. But so what was her name, sorry?
Tejasvi.
Tejasvi asked what hiking gear that she can get at thrift rates, but maybe what thrift rates are in India is probably not going to be the same in New Zealand.
No.
I'm often pretty shocked by how expensive some items are in secondhand stores and stuff. They are cheaper than buying it brand new, yes, but don't expect to be getting stuff for like $1 here and $1 there. No. It's usually a bit more expensive than that, but yeah, nevertheless, there's definitely some cheaper options.
All right, cool. So to buy second-hand articles in New Zealand, you've got multiple options. You've got Facebook groups, which actually are quite popular and quite handy. However, they may take a little bit more time, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You got the hostels, which actually sometimes have some stuff leftovers. You get second-hand shop. You also can rent sometimes from some hostels, and some gear. Some gears can be provided by some tour companies if you use a tour. But we'll go through all of them one by one, and let's start with second-hand thrift stores. That's what she asked most.
Yeah. Okay. So second-hand stores, or op shops, as they're more well known in New Zealand by. That means opportunity store, or but yeah, mostly called op shops. They can be found all over New Zealand, mostly in the sort of larger towns, and definitely a few different options in cities. What would be near? There's definitely some secondhand stores near the Northern Circuit in the towns of Taupo and Turangi. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some options in terms of secondhand stores, and usually where the secondhand stores are near areas with lots of hikes, there's usually a lot of hiking gear there, because there often are people that have done the hikes and then they just donate the stuff to the op shop there. So there's different types of op shops, and there's Hospice is one of the brands. There's Salvation Army is one of the brands.
There's the SPCA as well.
Yeah, SPCA. And then there's a lot of sort of independent op shops, which will just say op shop or second-hand store, and yeah, that's about it. But yeah, usually it's a bit, I'm sure you all understand what second-hand stores are like. They're a little bit of a mess. It's hard to find things, but usually if you're pretty savvy about these things, you can find some good hiking gear sort of buried in the back somewhere. So yeah.
For sure. All right, so your other options are actually Facebook groups. Facebook groups are very handy to use for a lot of people are buying and selling their items. Either they live in New Zealand or even locals. You have buy and sell Facebook group for every town you are. So let's say you are in Auckland, you can search for Auckland buy and sell, and you'll find multiple Facebook groups where people are buying and selling a few items. Now, the issue with Facebook group, I'll just start with the negative. The issue with the Facebook group is that it may take you a little bit longer to get the gears that you want, because you need to find a good listing, then you need to contact the person. It may take 1, 2, maybe 3 days to kind of arrange a meetup, and then give them the money, take the items, and all of that. So it's not necessarily the most flexible kind of way to get secondhand gears in New Zealand if you are tight time limit. If you just want to be able to hop somewhere and just buy it right out of the gate and leave, and it takes you only 30 minutes, but at that point you have you are going to be not necessarily going to like the Facebook group so much. Now, on the other hand, is that the Facebook group are usually much cheaper than the op shops. The second-hand shops in New Zealand are, as Laura mentioned, they're not necessarily that cheap. And on the Facebook group, people just want to get rid of something. You take a picture of it and you say, "I want that gone today," and they're willing to give it to you for like very, very cheap. And we see that happening quite often. We've got quite a few things from those Facebook groups, and it's quite handy. So that's another one of your options. Now there is, in the same vein of the Facebook groups, there is a website in New Zealand called Trade Me. It's basically the equivalent of eBay. eBay is not really that popular in New Zealand, but Trade Me definitely is. So you'll be able to find quite a lot of second-hand items on Trade Me at very decent price. But again, it's the time of bidding on the auction and winning the auction, sending the payment, them sending it to you. So if you're in New Zealand for a lengthier period of time and want some really good second-hand gears for a discount, that's a really good option. However, if you're here for a very short time and you only have about an hour to sort out your gears, then that's a little bit more of an even one. Now, shop-wise, there are some shops which are available. So there are some really cheap shops where you can get some really cheap gears, and that sometimes are going to be cheaper than the second-hand shop. And the good thing with that, if you get that from those cheap stores, you can leave it behind in the hostel or something, and that can help someone else. So those stores will include the warehouse, for example, that is really cheap, and there are also some army surplus stores where you'll be able to get some really good gears for like quite cheap. So that's the other options. But there are also some companies that will organize tours with you, and that would provide rent gears alongside with it.
Yeah, so if you're using maybe a tour company as transport to get to one of the hikes or walks in New Zealand, or there's even companies that just generally do hiking rentals. Usually these are located where there are the most popular walks, like the Northern Circuit, because it is a great walk of New Zealand, and basically anything that's a great walk is a popular walk. So yeah, these companies will have an option to rent out, for instance, hiking poles, sometimes even hiking shoes, waterproof jackets, that sort of thing. So yeah, this is definitely something to look into. And if you're looking for transport to get to a hiking trail or something, it's always worth asking, do you do gear rentals as well?
And to add to this, if you ever decide to do a guided hike, so it does happen really often that you kind of feel like you want an expert to come with you. It's usually much more expensive. It does cost quite a lot of money to do that, but everything is sorted out for you. Almost every single one of the company that will offer a guided hike of any of the Great Walk will be able to provide gears along the way, just like all the hiking poles, all those kind of things, and they will actually be very often kind of included in the price. So that may be worth considering as well. So it's all sorted for you. And also come to some of the activities. If you guys are watching this video, not just about the Northern Circuit, let's say you're about to do a glacier hike in New Zealand, you don't have to have your own crampons. It's included in the tour. Let's say you are doing a kayaking tour and everything. You do not need to have your life jacket or your wetsuit or any of those kind of things. It usually is provided in the tour. If you're about to go do some surfing or some swimming with dolphins and everything, the wetsuit will be provided to you. It's part of the tour. It's one of the inclusion. So it's just a segue from the Northern Circuit, but it's just to give you some information about that as well. And finally, the last option is hostels. Quite a lot in hostels nearby some of the Great Walk. There is a lot of gears, either leftover or to rent.
Yeah, so this definitely isn't something to rely on because you don't know what you're going to find and if there is going to be anything left, because often the good stuff goes quickly. But there are some hostels that will have like a box simply labeled free stuff or something like that. And yeah, usually in there might be a good jacket. There might be like an old rain jacket, some boots and stuff. Obviously, you never know what the quality is going to be like because obviously it might have been got rid of for a reason. I know I've definitely left a jacket in one of those boxes before because it started to get holes in, but it's still better than having nothing. So
there is a hostel somewhere in New Zealand that has one of my hiking shoes. I did finish one of our trip once and I had one hiking shoe left. So one of them is left somewhere in the hostel. So if you guys ever find one left hiking shoe, that may be mine.
Yeah, so basically those sort of, the free stuff box in a hostel is more of a like last resort. Like if you really have nothing, then the stuff they have in there is probably better than nothing, but they're not great either.
All right, so this wraps up our take on where can you get some hiking gears for cheap in New Zealand. We do have a full article on that on BackpackerGuide.NZ, and we're having an article about everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, here you go. We have an entire article for you guys. And if you do find our video and our help useful, consider subscribing to the channel. That's always super helpful. As well as hit the like button. It's really good for us. It shows us that we do something nice. All right, so we'll go back to the live chat and see what's happening there. Sebastian Gardner say, what hike would you recommend in New Zealand where there is not that many tourists?
There are
but mostly day hikes.
Yeah, there are actually so many hikes in New Zealand. Like the hikes that you've probably heard of in New Zealand are only like a real select few. The amount of hikes in New Zealand is incredible. There's really a lot of stuff. So often you just see one of the hikes you've never heard of before, and chances are that it's not going to have much tourists. But also to note that the only two hikes I can think of in the whole country that are always really busy is the Tongariro Crossing and Rangitoto Island in Auckland.
And Roy's Peak.
And Roy's Peak in Wanaka. Okay,
yeah.
So there's 3 hikes we can think of. Every other hike that we've been on in New Zealand, like if you compare it to going on hikes in Europe or maybe more populated areas around the world, they're often really busy. This is really not the case in New Zealand. New Zealand has quite a small population. Also, the number of visitors are quite spread out across the country during summer, for instance.
You'll be fine. You won't see too many people.
Yeah.
Now, so we have actually a video about the alternative to the Great Walks on the channel. So if you search on our channel, alternative to Great Walks, you'll find our take on some of the other kind of like really awesome multi-day hikes and everything in New Zealand, but which don't have that many people and also cost much less. So that should be really helpful to you, Sebastian. But from the top of our head, you get the Holyford track. You've got the Humpridge track as well. They're not that cheap, but yeah, they're pretty good. You get the inland track, which is really awesome. What else do we have? Belarus track.
Yeah, there's the Te Paki. I think it's called Te Paki track.
The Queen Charlotte in Cape
Reinga.
Marlborough Sound. Marlborough Sound, the Queen Charlotte as well. It's pretty cool. So yeah, we have an article on BackpackerGuide.NZ, the 12 awesome alternative to the Great Walk. So feel free to go check this one out, Sebastian. And on top of it, check out the video that we have on that. But yeah, don't worry. Nothing is really that crazy busy aside from like the thing that everybody heard of.
Yeah.
Adil say it's hot and humid evening here. So yeah, well, come here. It's pretty cool. And Tawhid says, good morning of all of you, but now it's night in India. Oh, thank you very much for staying awake with us. Yeah. Says, what's the best time in New Zealand? The best time for what? I personally like 7 a.m. because that's when we have breakfast. And that's the important meal of the day. As well as for traveling, I personally like the month of April personally best, just because the weather is a little bit more changeable, keeps you on your toes, and there is much less people around. So that's my opinion. But it's very hard to find to answer such a generic question, Tawhid. So Tawhid also said, where are you from? I mean, what's your current city location? We don't really like to say where we are, but we are in central Northern. We don't necessarily like to give our address on the live stream, but we're somewhere in central Northern, so it helps us go wherever we want on the Northern, and even on the Southern, to be honest. It's very easy for us to go where we need to go. Totosh 1972 say hello from Malta. Hello. How's life on the little island over there? And Pratik Bhatia says, any place on Northern End where we can find used hiking gear in a garage, sell cheaply. Pratik, we literally just answered this question about, let's say, 15 minutes ago. So if you rewind the live session, you're going to see us talking about it for about 10 minutes.
That very specific question. Yeah, so in fact, it's so specific, I'm even thinking maybe you're the same person, but it doesn't look like you are.
From anyway.
But yeah, we literally just answered that very question.
So Pratik, rewind. We just talked about it for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
hopefully that's useful to you. Let us know in the live chat when you finished watching it.
Yeah. Tell us. All right, cool. In the meantime, we're going to keep going through some questions. We have actually a kind of a shorter one, which is very interesting for you guys. So yeah, we'll cover that. And if you guys have any questions of your own, just make sure to put them in the comments of the videos, or even just in the live chat right now. We're here to help. So yeah, keep asking questions. We're here with you guys for an entire hour. All right, cool. So on YouTube, Shaylee Saar says, hey guys, I'll be traveling in New Zealand with a family of 6 adults along with our luggages. Can you help me suggest which rental car should we look for? We don't want to split ourselves in separate cars. So that's a very interesting question, because everybody will have very, very, very different needs when it comes to traveling with 6 people, adults, with all their luggage.
Yeah.
And in fact, when preparing for this question, Laura and I had a bit of a debate right here on like, what should you do and how should you kind of approach that, right?
Yeah.
So, so the first thing that we want to talk about are people movers, like the Toyota Estima. So Laura does like them for quite a bunch of reasons, but I don't like them for quite a bunch of reasons. So what about you, get started?
Yeah, so if you're considering getting a people mover or renting a people mover, there's actually quite a lot of companies, rental companies in New Zealand that do those vehicles, and they usually fit about 8 people in them. They are quite compact though. So if you're traveling with 6 people, that might be pretty good. So you have spare room on some seats for luggage and stuff. They're easy to drive because they are quite compact, and they're usually the cheapest option if you are traveling with that many people in and you all want to be in the same car, which I do think that traveling in the same car is a really good idea. There's loads of really good benefits to that, which we'll go through.
Just to add with that, the way Laura says cheapest is both on the rental days as well as on gas and insurance. All the cost of this car would be much cheaper than the other options that we.
But also for the model of car.
That's what I say. The cost of rental as well as the insurance as well as the gas, not just the cost of rental. So it's very much cheaper.
Yes, yeah. So all around, that's probably your most budget option. But as Robin is probably going to tell you, it might not be the most if you are more keen to spread out, but that really depends on the group and and how close they are, how friendly of friends they are, so.
Yeah, so in my opinion, a Toyota Estima is very small. First up, it's one of those cars that has kind of a low roof, right? So you have much less space with breathing space and all of that, as well as when those cars are selling themselves as a 8 or 9 people seater, you can't really fit 9 people. It's usually 2 adults and 6 kids. That's basically what it usually means.
Yeah.
So you've really got to keep that in mind. And when you have those cars, they look quite big, and usually you will get 3 rows of seats, right? The first row is where you have the driver and the first passenger. Then you have two people on the next seat, and then you have 2 people on the back one. Then they add 2 more people sitting in between on the last 2 rows. But the back row have very little leg room, and fitting so many people, they are really not comfortable. And on top of that, when you fill up an 8 or 9 people seater, usually you get rid of a lot of your space in the boot, meaning that you can only have very limited luggages. So when you have 6 adults, I'm considering that there's going to be between 6 and 8 suitcases, maybe more. This absolutely, in my opinion, will not fit in any way of comfortable ways in a Toyota Estima. Also, you're going to be really crammed and you won't really be able to see around very much, and it's not going to be really a comfortable trip. You're traveling around New Zealand, in my opinion, you want to make it better. So this is why we think.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what are the better options?
Yes. So, and again, I have nothing, Toyota. I like you as a company. Estima, you are nice cars. I'm not upset at Toyota Estimas and everything. I'm just thinking, just picturing myself doing a trip. And I wouldn't like to be with 6 adults in a Toyota Estima traveling around New Zealand. I would like to have a little bit more space. It probably is also because Laura and I travel with a lot of luggage. We have so many cameras when we travel. It's just, we need space. So, other options are kind of minivans. We are talking like Toyota Hiace. You see, I like Toyota. Or Ford Transit. I really like the Ford Transit because it's a much taller van. It gives you plenty of space. It's really kind of good size kind of van. But the Toyota Hiace is actually really good because you can drive it with a normal driving license. So that's a really good thing because it gives you the space of a minivan, but you can drive it with normal driving license. The good thing that I like about those kind of size van is that compared to a big RV, to a big camper van, it's much less wide, and usually with width comes difficulty of driving. A Toyota Hiace, honestly, it's about the width of a car.
Yeah.
It may be a little bit wider, but by a really thin margin. So you drive it very similarly to a car, which is really good. You just obviously will, have a harder time to reach high speeds and everything, but that's not what you're in New Zealand for. The other awesome thing which I like about traveling in the minivan is that you have space. As I just talked about, I like
space is important.
Yeah. Space comes as a premium when you travel. But no, I think that space is quite important for comfort. You have plenty of space for your luggage. You have plenty of space for everyone. You can pass food around if you want to eat around and everything. You get plenty. It's just comfortable. You have a wider seat. You can put your seatbelt nicely without being completely just tight and crazy. So I do really like that. Another really good point is the fact that the windows are much larger, so you get to enjoy the view. If you're crammed in the back of a Toyota Estima, you got a tiny window, yay big, and that's pretty much it. So you got the driver and the front passenger, which are like, wow, it's amazing. And you can what am I looking at? I'm trying to look through a postage stamp. It's not that fun. Yeah. So I like the fact that those kind of things, as a Ford Transit is very well known to have big windows, and it has space, so that would be kind of your luxury option. And the Toyota Hiace would be a good compromise between both. So I think it's a really good advantage to have larger windows as well. The other good thing about the Toyota Hiace, from our experience, is that you basically need a normal car park for it, right? You don't, when you go Ford Transit or bigger, or even when you go with the big RVs, you can have a hard time either finding a park, not really finding a park, but finding a suitable and easy to park in parking stop.
Yeah.
I find out with the Toyota Hiace, super easy to park around. It's easy to drive, it's easy to park around. I think there is no fault to that Toyota Hiace, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the good thing as well is that they don't use too much gas. So if you were to compare that between the Toyota Hiace and 2 cars, you will actually save a lot of gas going with the Toyota Hiace because it's obviously much less than 2 cars. And also, as you mentioned, you don't want to split into two cars just because you're traveling together. You want to share, you want to have fun together. That makes sense, you could do like 2 cars and then a walkie-talkie and talking together. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
Just travel together.
It's not the same as going out
exactly.
together. Yeah.
So that's basically my point of why I think that that you should go for a Toyota Hiace. That would be the type of car that I would look for if I were you.
Yeah.
Juicy Ransom, and there is many other company that rent some. It's a very, very popular type of people mover, minivan in New Zealand. So very popular one. So I will rent this one for your specific car.
And when you're searching for this specific type of vehicle on any of the sort of rental car comparison websites for New Zealand, or if you're looking on specific website for car rental companies, then the best thing to sort of search is people movers or people carriers or minivans.
Yeah, and we do have all the best car rental companies in New Zealand listed on our site. So if you actually go on their website, just seriously go on our site and look for car rentals. And then when you directed to the car rental company, then you can choose what type of car you want. All the car company that we talk on the website, I would say out of all of them, at least 3/4 will have Toyota Hiace for rent.
Yeah.
So you'll be sweet. So just go on BackpackerGuide.NZ, and then you go travel tips, transportation, rental cars, check out a recommendation on which one are the best rental companies. And from there, you'll be able to pick the vehicle you like.
And you'll put a link to those articles in the description.
Of course, link is in the description below. If you guys have any extra questions, put them in the comment of this video and we'll answer them for you. And obviously, if you find that useful, like and subscribe. You guys are awesome. All right, let's go back to the live chat. What has been happening? Blocky Joff says, I just moved to New Zealand. They say it's hot in New Zealand when it's summer. Is that true? Yeah, it gets hot. I mean, it really depends how hot you can handle. I mean, if you're from India, we have some friends from India. They tell us it's not hot at all. They're still cold in the middle of the summer, but it goes up to 28 degrees Celsius. So
and the thing with the heat in New Zealand is that when there's no clouds in the sky and it is just sun, it is super hot. The sun is really intense in New Zealand, but as soon as that sun gets covered, the temperature drops dramatically. Like there's sort of it's not really a hot air temperature, but it's definitely the sun that makes obviously the most heat. On a sunny days, you'll feel that it feels so much hotter than on days when there's cloud cover, or as soon as the sun sets and it goes to night, it just all of a sudden feels so much different. It's just like brr,
but no, in short, not sure. It's a very kind of interesting question, Joff, but
you'll just have to wait and see if you've just moved to New Zealand. You will be seeing in just a couple of months' time.
So General BP said, you mentioned a lot about temporary living in New Zealand. On a more permanent scale, where would be an inexpensive place to look at living near Wellington? Well, we don't really do permanent stuff. It's not, we're here to advise on travel. So we can't really tell you where to move. It would be, we can make a lifelong decision for you.
Obviously, maybe one of the suburbs of Wellington. There's Upper Hutt. There's the Kapiti Coast. Perhaps
Martin Borough actually is even linked by train, which is quite nice. So that's what I would say. But I mean, obviously, we're not really that comfortable in giving you permanent living in New Zealand advice. We're here to do travel more than the rest. MBK say, thank you for all your beautiful, nice work. Your videos is helping me a lot. Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
When are you traveling to New Zealand, MBK? When's your trip? And how long are you going to spend here? Vera Kumar says, any place to visit from Auckland for a day? All right, we love going onto the islands of the Hurricane Gulf. Laura loves Tiri Matangi.
Yeah, Tiri Matangi is a pest-free island, meaning that there's loads of native birds there. So you just take the ferry from the downtown Auckland ferry building, which is right in the city centre, and it's about a 45-minute ferry over to this little island where there's loads of different walking trails and loads of sort of feeding stations for birds, and there's even like a little gift store at the top of the island with a little cafe there as well. So that's a really good day trip. There's obviously loads of different islands to explore as well. There's Rangitoto Island. Do you want to talk about
Rangitoto Island is probably the most popular kind of day thing to do from Auckland. You take a ferry and you go to the beautiful island of Rangitoto. It's an extinct volcano. You'll see some beautiful lava field. You can climb up the rim of the crater. It's about an hour walk. You have some lava caves to explore, which is really awesome. And from the top, you see the crater of the volcano, but you also see the beautiful skyline of Auckland, which is really awesome. Another island to visit is Waiheke Island, which is the wine mecca of New Zealand. If you want to stay on land and you are more interested in, getting on the car and drive, you can go to Goat Island Marine Reserve, yet another island where you can do some snorkeling and see a lot of awesome fish. You can go to Muriwai Beach and Muriwai Gannet Colony, which is really awesome. You see some beautiful birds and you see a really awesome beach. There's also Piha Beach, which is really nice for surfing. It's a bit dangerous, but it's really nice for surfing. So either go with a surfing instructor or you go there if you know what you do, or you go there for a nice walk.
Yeah, there's lots of walks around there. There's the Hunua Ranges, which has a huge waterfall there and lots of little short walks going through the forest. So that always makes a good day out as well.
Here you go.
I think that's enough, really.
Yeah, that's enough, Vera. Just let us know which one you're going to pick out of that. And then Vera is also asking, how is Pahia? Pahia is really awesome. So Pahia, for you guys that don't know, it's in Northland. You want to show the map quickly? Pahia is in Northland. It's the gateway to the Bay of Islands. So it's by there. And yeah, it's really amazing. There is a lot to do there. There is a ton of hikes. There is plenty of boats that go to so many different islands. I invite you to type Pahia. So it's Paihia. If you type that on the search bar of the channel, you'll find all our videos from there. There's a ton of things to do there. So yeah. All right, cool. So while you guys are getting warmed up and asking us some more questions, we're going to go through the question that we received throughout the week. And that's probably going to be helpful to you guys as well. So let's go over a question from, just before that. MBK says he's thinking about Christchurch. You mentioned that it's a good place to find a job with more convenient price around the city. By the way, I'm from Syria. Nice. Well, it's going to be colder in Christchurch than it is in Syria. I think. So yeah. But yeah, Christchurch is a good place. All right, so on YouTube, we had a question from Ludlisi that says, hi, BackpackerGuide.NZ. I live in Australia, and my mother is coming from overseas to visit me in a month's time. And she's going to do a stopover in Auckland, and I am meeting her there so we can travel through both islands for 16 days. I couldn't find any videos about itineraries with elderly people. She's 68, not that old, but can't walk much. I am planning to do the Lord of the Rings visits, glowworms, some lakes, volcanoes, hot pools, and some cultural activities. But she speaks very little English as well. So I would like to know which itinerary and activities you recommend, considering with some walking limitation and a slower pace. Not very adventurous, but love nature. Beautiful views and different things to do. Thank you. Okay. All right, that's a lot of little things to take in consideration. But if we take our trusted map, we'll be able to do an itinerary for you. That should be quite nice. Let me just find that. We had some notes for you.
But the first thing to mention really is because of the age difference, and you do mention that your mother is quite old, especially what bus tours do for elderly people, bus tours in New Zealand, what they do is really visit just a few places within the time. So for instance, if they were to do a week in the North Island, they would only visit 3 different locations. But as you've asked, you want to do both islands in 16 days and you want to do quite a lot of stuff. So we'll do our best to sort of find a happy medium, and we'll sort of obviously recommend to spend a couple of days in one location rather than rushing around the whole country, because that can be quite tiring for your mother. But also this is obviously an opportunity of a lifetime for you as well. So you obviously want to do a lot of stuff as well. So we'll try and find a good balance between all that. Okay.
All right. So you're probably going to be landing in Auckland. So we're going to add Auckland to the map. Then we're going to add Waitomo to the map. Then we're going to add Rotorua to the map. And then we're going to add Taupo. And then we're going to add Wellington. Now arriving in the Southern Island, and again, we're going to go through every single one of those points one by one. So don't panic. We'll do everything one by one. So you're going to have Picton, which is where you arrive. We're probably going to have the Abel Tasman National Park. Then we are going to be adding Franz Joseph. Then we're going to be adding Queenstown. Dunedin. And then we're going to add Moncook and then Christchurch. There you go.
Okay.
All right, let's cover all of those bases right here. Cool. So as Laura mentioned, what we try to do right here is that despite the fact that you have 6 days, we only have 12 dots on the map. This gives you plenty of time for you to have extra days in some places, to be able to take it at a much slower and much more fun pace, just so you can actually just, brace yourself as a traveling with your mum, because, at 68 years old, you're not on the go, driving in the morning, doing activity in the afternoon, driving in the evening, you're not going to be able to do that. So you're going to arrive in Auckland, which is an awesome city where there's plenty of things to do. You can visit a few places if you feel like it. Maybe treat your mum to some really awesome wine. You can take a boat that will take you to the island of Waiheke Island. On Waiheke Island, first, you're going to have a cruise through the beautiful harbor of Auckland, which is really awesome. Then you're going to be able to see most of the Hauraki Gulf, a lot of islands and everything, which is, again, super awesome. And then on Waiheke Island, you'll have a great views of all the seas and the Hauraki Gulf and the other islands, as well as being able to taste some of the best wine that New Zealand has to offer, because Waiheke is the wine mecca of Auckland. So go on a bit of a wine tasting tour if you want to, or literally just pick one of the winery you want to go to, hop on the bus. It's probably going to be about 10-minute bus at most.
Yeah.
and just sit there, have some good food, some good wine, and when you're a little tipsy, take the bus back on the boat and then head back to your hotel. So that will be the one thing I will do. If you don't feel like getting on the boat, you can definitely check out the Sky Tower. You go up the Sky Tower, you get a beautiful views, and that's pretty much it. Then you hop on the car and you drive to Waitomo. Waitomo is the place where you can see the glowworms. There is many ways to see the glowworms, but I think there is only one way you will be able to do with a 68 years old that doesn't want to walk.
Yeah. So one of the definitely a good option to do when you're traveling with someone that's older is something called simply the Waitomo Glowworm Caves. This is a it does involve some walking, but it's very short. You're probably walking for about 10 minutes in total, and it's a guided tour through some beautiful underground limestone caves with a little boat trip at the end. You're just simply floating in this cave under an amazing display of glowworms. So it's really an easy activity to do. Alternatively, there are some slightly longer walking tours, but they again are pretty easy going. You're moving at a very slow pace. I'm thinking of the Ruakuri Cave.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, so Ruakuri Cave, again, it's another way of seeing the glowworms, but going super slowly with a tour guide. The trip is I think the whole tour is about 45 minutes, but you're barely doing that much walking, but it is seeing some of the most impressive caves and limestone formations in the whole of Waitomo. So that's definitely worth checking out as well.
Cool. Then from Waitomo, you're going to make your way toward Rotorua. Now, this should be a full day drive because it's not a long drive, but that will give you the opportunity to stop at Hobbiton. It's in the little village of Matamata. And it was on your list. Everybody that comes to New Zealand wants to see Hobbiton. So go there, enjoy that. The tour is about an hour and 30 minutes, that. And so then you have the drive and you arrive in Rotorua. If you still feel up for some challenge when you arrive in Rotorua, you can hop on straight away for an evening tour of one of the Maori village. The Maori village like Mitai or Tamaki offers evening tour where you visit the whole village, you see a Maori show, and you also taste some Maori food, which usually parents really love. This is a really awesome cultural activity. It's extremely unique throughout the entire world, so it's definitely worth seeing. You may want to take another day in Rotorua as well, visiting some of the beautiful geothermal park that there is. There is Waiotapu, there is Te Puia, there is the Waimangu Volcanic Valley, and they all showcase some very unique geothermal activities that are, that would be a shame to miss them when traveling around New Zealand. Yeah. Oh, there is also Orake Korako, which is actually one of our favorites. So we have videos on most of those on the channel, so feel free to check those one out. But once you finish your time in Rotorua, drive yourself to Taupo.
Okay, so just before reaching Taupo, one of the probably most popular attractions in the North Island is right there, and that's called Huka Falls. This is an amazing it's where a huge river sort of narrows really quickly to create this gorge, and there's some crazy sort of waterfall displays going through there, and that's really impressive.
It's a long hike though.
Yeah, it'll take you about 30 seconds to reach. There is a car park just right next to the attraction, and then you walk over a bridge. There's a few different viewpoints to get different views of the Hooker Falls.
But literally, the furthest one you can find is about 1.5 minutes. 1.5 minutes.
So that one will definitely be an easy one to do. And then while you're in Taupo, which is on the edge of New Zealand's largest lake, there's a few boat trips that you can go on. So you can do some sailing tours and go see some Maori rock carvings, which are pretty cool. Some carvings.
Explain the Maori carving. It's very different. It's a massive carving. It's as the size of a boat.
Yeah, it's about, I think, about maybe 10 foot or something, 8 or 10 foot carvings, which is, just really impressive to see. It's carved into a cliff on the edge, and you can get there, by sailing tours, or there's also like motorboat tours as well. But that's a nice, relaxing way to enjoy Lake Taupo.
Yeah. And so it's also a good way to break up the drive because you have a really long drive.
Yeah.
So obviously around Taupo, there is all the likes of the Tonga Aero crossing and all those kind of things. But since you mentioned that your mum doesn't walk that much, you don't necessarily want to take her on a 12 hike. But there is some still amazing views of volcano. Laura just wrote on my jean with a pen. Whoopsie. But then we're going to drive all the way down to Wellington.
I hope that washes out.
We'll see. That's okay. I'll say I have a 5-year-old kid now. All right. So in Wellington, there is some really awesome cultural things to do that would be awesome with your parents. So there is like the Te Papa Museum, which is New Zealand's national museum. There is a ton of exhibition from the involvement of New Zealand in World War II to the awesome Maori culture, to the New Zealand in like the 70s, to the geology kind of New Zealand. There is even something called the colossal squid, which is a gigantic, massive squid that washed off the shore of New Zealand and has been conserved in some kind of concoction. It's a weird animal, but you can see a lot about all the fauna and flora of the country. It's really an epic museum. If you're into the Lord of the Rings, you also have the Weta Cave tour, which is where they do most of the special effect for the Lord of the Rings. It's really awesome to visit as well. But overall, Wellington is especially like just a nice city. It's the nicest capital of the world. That's what they say. It's a nice city to walk around, plenty of cafe, awesome food. It's like you called your mum elderly, which, you're brave. I wouldn't call my mum elderly. But so it's the elderlies love it because it's just the Wellington has an elderly's pace, basically.
Yeah.
But it's also the place where you take the ferry down to Picton. The ferry is kind of an activity in itself. It's a beautiful cruise through the stunning Marlborough Sound, and then you arrive in Picton and you start exploring the South Island, which is epic. So in Picton, you can stay a little bit and do a couple of things. Yeah,
in Picton, it's really a good place to do a lot of water activities. More like boat trips would be more appropriate if you're traveling with someone a bit older. There's really amazing cruises taking you to sort of hidden inlets around the Marlborough Sounds and seeing lots of sort of remote places. There's a boat tour, 2 different boat tours called the Mail Boat Cruises. So that this is where tour companies actually deliver mail to really remote like areas within coves and stuff around the Marlborough Sounds, which is pretty cool. You could also go see some dolphins. There's like dolphin cruises as well. And in terms of the rest of the stuff, that's more active. So maybe we will not mention too much about the rest of the things.
Here you go. Then you can head to the Abel Tasman National Park. And the Abel Tasman National Park is absolutely stunning. It's those golden sand beaches with stunning turquoise water, with luxuriant rainforest everywhere. You can hop on any of the boat tour that's going to take you there, do a very short walk around and show you a few places. You can also go on a kayaking tour. The good thing is that usually when you go on an organized kayaking tour, there is other people. So they will pair you with the guide. So the guide does more of the
or you could go with your mum and you do all the paddling.
Who wants to do that? Hell no! But yeah, so it's 2 people kayak, so you can kind of work together and everything. It's not necessarily that long. You can make it as long and as short as you want. You get to see plenty of wildlife. It's a really stunning area, definitely worth visiting. Then you can hop on and drive alongside the stunning wide west coast of New Zealand. We will recommend you to do all that in one day. So that's going to be a long day drive, but there is a few pit stops along the way, like the Nelson Lakes with some, this is where you have the GT and the Placid Lake and the mountain at the back, and you can take that picture. So that's kind of a short pit stop. You also have Greymouth, where you can do where you can actually try some really good food, and there is also some mini museum about the mining history of New Zealand.
There's also a brewery tour.
There is a brewery tour, but not if you're driving. But bad suggestion, Laura.
Yeah. Sorry.
Then there is Punakaiki with the pancake rocks and some blowholes. Same thing. It's a very short, like maybe about 10-minute walk, where you can see stunning limestone formation and amazing blowholes, so definitely worth doing. And then you arrive in Franz Josef. In Franz Josef, this is where you can do some epic stuff on glaciers.
Well, if your mum's feeling up to it, of course.
Oh, it's not that hard of a hike. The helicopter does most of the work.
Yeah, that's true. So there is a thing in Franz Josef called heli hiking, where basically you're taken by helicopter onto a glacier and you're kitted up with crampons, which are sort of those little like knife things you put on the bottom of your hiking shoes, and yeah, you just go for a very short stroll on top of a glacier, which is a pretty awesome experience, and you learn more about these magnificent rivers of ice that are making their way through the valleys. It's a stunning area to see, but if you don't think that is appropriate to do with your mother, alternatively, you can just do helicopter tours. So you can do scenic helicopter flights over the Franz Josef Glacier, and you can also actually get a glimpse of New Zealand's highest mountain, which is Mount Cook as well. And it's really an awesome way to just see some of the most stunning, like grand scenery of New Zealand that you've probably all been thinking and imagining of. So that's a really good way to get some views. And sometimes they do sort of quick helicopter landings on the top of the glacier. So you just basically get out, go run around and get back in again. There's not really, it's just a fun thing to do for like 2 seconds, but that's an alternative way to see the glacier without actually having to overexert yourself or anything.
Exactly,
like that.
yeah. You also have glacier hot pools, and you also have a really nice wildlife park where you're able to see some kiwi birds. So you have some alternative if heli hiking is not your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then you keep on driving and you do a really awesome drive around and you make your way to Queenstown. So Queenstown is kind of the equivalent of Wellington, but on the southern end, it's kind of a city where you're going to get plenty of really awesome food. There is plenty of things to do, super adventurous, super non-adventurous. One of the things we like the most is to take a bus tour to go all the way down to Milford Sound, because it's an amazing place to visit. And also, you don't necessarily have to drive yourself, so it's much better to take the bus tour, enjoy the view, go do the cruise down there, and then come back. It's a whole day tour. It's really fun. Otherwise, just go up the gondola and have some beautiful views, some nice food. Check out Lake Wakatipu. There's really a lot of awesome stuff to do in Queenstown.
Yeah.
Then we think you should drive down to Dunedin, because there is amazing wildlife. And you mentioned your mum really loves wildlife. And the good thing with Dunedin is that the wildlife is extremely easy to access. So you get to see them super up close without to exercise a bit.
Yeah, so in Dunedin, there's a place called the Otago Peninsula, which there's loads of different wildlife tours taking you there. And probably the easiest thing to do with your mum, though, is to go to the Royal Albatross Centre. And there's a short tour there which takes you to see some of the nesting Royal Albatross, which, if you don't know, they are the largest type of seabirds in the world. They're really impressive to see close up. And in terms of walking, it's really just a short stroll to see a couple of different areas around the Royal Albatross Centre, and it's really informative as well. But I know you said that your mum can't understand English very well, but I'm sure she will definitely appreciate seeing this amazing wildlife.
And you can translate for her. What about that?
Yeah. And also they do little blue penguin tours as well. So on an evening when the sun's going down, they have some platforms to stand on. And when you're stood on these platforms, you can watch these, what they call rafts of little blue penguins coming into shore and making their...
Dropping that knowledge right here.
Yeah. Bit of a knowledge drop for y'all. And then, yeah, when they come in on land and waddle their way to their nests, and it's always a really cute sight to see. So I think that's probably the best thing to do with your mum.
Cool. And then you make your way towards Mount Cook. So alongside the way, you can check out some awesome places like Twizel, Lake Tekapo, all those kind of awesome things. Lake Pukaiki, which is a beautiful blue lake. No.
I just wanted to make a more accurate road.
Fantastic.
You do have to sort of turn off the main highway to go to Mount
So
Cook.
there's a few things to see around, but some of the good thing about Mount Cook is that if you did miss on the glacier hike, you can do a glacier hike right here on the Tasman Glacier, which is the tallest glacier of the country. But you can also hop in a plane and do a scenic flight around the Southern Alps, which is absolutely mind-blowing, around Mount Cook, which is the New Zealand's tallest mountain. It's actually one of the cheapest flights you can do as well, which is really amazing. And you also have some awesome stargazing tours, because this area right here is a dark sky reserve, meaning that there is very limited light pollution, meaning that the night skies are fantastic. So you can either do an organized night tour or just look up in the sky, in the stars yourself, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And then you make your way down to Christchurch, because we think that because you're traveling with your mom, you should limit the amount of traveling you're doing around and the tedious part. And so you finish in Christchurch, and then boom, you fly yourself to Auckland. The flight from Christchurch to Auckland will be about $49 if you book them really early, or about $120 if you book them a little bit later. But it's still going to save you the amount. Like, you will spend more than that in gas just going back up. Yeah. So definitely do that. That'd be much easier. If you do have some spare time in Christchurch, you get some stunning gardens. It's called the Garden City for a reason. You get some amazing gardens to visit. That's perfect for you, mum, which is going to be absolutely exhausted right now. She just need a cup of tea in front of a bunch of really nice flowers. So this is basically how we will finish traveling with your mum around New Zealand for 16 days. So here you are. Your name is Luxi. I'm sorry, I destroyed your name. But yeah, I hope that this is going to help you. Let us know in the comment if you do find this itinerary useful. If you guys have any follow-up questions, ask us. There is some links for you guys in the description of these videos for you to click on, and make sure to like and subscribe, because we are awesome and that's helping us out a lot. Thank you. Okay. All right, you guys in the live chat are really active. I like it a lot. Make sure to hit the like button, guys, on the live chat. All right, so what is happening here? We have Vera Kumar that says, which is the best global activity company? We actually have an article on BackpackerGuide.NZ. So if you just type glowworm on the website, you'll be able to find that. And we have a video on the channel. So if you type glowworm on the channel, you'll be able to find those. And so we go in great length about all the different tours and all the different companies and all the different caves you can visit, because most companies visit actual different caves. Yeah. So yeah, make sure to check those out. So just look at their video in it. We literally speak about for about 20 minutes.
And also there's kayaking tours as well. There's really like a lot. There's more than just the Waitomo caves, for instance. Glowworms can be seen all over New Zealand.
Suraj Pro says, what are the jobs available in Tauranga? Same thing. We have a video about that. You guys don't use the search bar on the channel. So just so you guys know how to use that, on the channel there is an actual search bar. So it's just so it's on desktop only. So you have to use a laptop. And yeah, so you have like a channel, and then you have videos, and then you have playlists and all of that. And there is a little search icon. If you just type Tauranga on there, you'll find all the jobs video we've done for Tauranga, which there is a lot.
Otherwise, mobile, you just need to go onto the search bar of YouTube and just type Tauranga, BackpackerGuide.NZ, and you'll find our videos that way.
There you go. But yeah, so we have a video of that. So Vera, we have a full video for you about the glowworms, and Suraj about the jobs as well. Now, Dina Chikero, or Dana, I think it's Dana Chikero, saying, good morning from Hawaii. Aloha. Aloha. How are you doing? How are you doing? Oh, that was terrible. How are you doing, Dina? I'm just going to stick with it. Just want to clarify whether or not we need an international driver permit to rent a camper van. All right, so if your driving permit is in English and it's a full license, meaning it's not restricted or learners or anything, no, you shouldn't, because it's fully in English. But to be fair, when you travel, it's always easier to have an international driver permit. So I would seriously recommend you to get one, but no, you won't, because you're in driver license in English. If it's not in English though,
you definitely need one. Yeah. And if your driving license is not in English, you need an IDP and your non-English driving license together.
Even if your driving license in English, actually, you always need ID. The IDP has to be accompanied with your driving license. So, but yeah, honestly, much easier Dana to have an international driving permit. So may as well do it when you can, because you have a good excuse right here. But yeah, up to you though. I think in Hawaii they don't have even dual language or anything. I think it's all US English. So I think you should be good. Yeah. But correct us if what we are assuming right here, if your driver license is in Hawaiian, correct us and tell us now. So we know. We also have that says, hi, I'm Japanese.
Hello.
Konnichiwa, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Woo! There you go. I'm going to study abroad in January next year in New Zealand. Oh, that's nice. What are you going to study? That's awesome. And where are you going to study?
Where? More importantly, where?
Suraj Pro says, I have chosen a level 5 and level 6 course. does I have to take IELTS test again to enroll in level 7 course in another college? All right, so we are not doing a studying channel here, so we do not know about the English requirements. For those that don't know and are watching right here, the IELTS test is actually the test that can prove your actual level of English. And you usually need that for immigration purposes and for educational purposes, because the school doesn't want to take someone that doesn't speak English, so they won't be able to follow the course. So just clarifying for everyone. But yeah, Suraj, we do not know. You need to ask your school for that. Christine Martini says, aloha from Hawaii. Are we having the whole island of Hawaii right here watching us? How big is Hawaii? Like, how many people are living in Hawaii? Just like, what? Yeah. I thought that Hawaii was like really small. But is it actually quite big? Is there big cities in Hawaii? Should we go to Hawaii? I want to go to Hawaii. It's just I'm intrigued right here, because I remember we also had a guy called Michael Mariano that was coming all the time from Hawaii. That was really fun.
And there was also that girl that came to Wellington, Masterton.
Oh yeah, that's true. Too. Yeah, we have so many people from Hawaii. It's awesome. Anyway, so Christine says she's visiting in April, visiting both islands in 16 days. She got a motorhome and gonna start from Christchurch to Auckland. Good girl!
Yeah,
look at you following our tips. Always travel south to north because it's much cheaper. Boom! I like it. Do you have any place recommended traveling from Wellington to Gisborne? Oh, you're going to Gisborne. You want to get some wine, don't you? Look at her. Okay, that's cool. So can we get a map just to show a little bit what we're talking about to everyone? All right, can we put a dot on Wellington and a dot on Gisborne?
So Wellington is around here, and Gisborne's around here.
So there is obviously plenty to do along the way. So around here there is like Foxton Beach, which is quite nice. Yeah, we do a couple of points. Here there is Foxton Beach. You can actually see us on the channel doing something called
kite landboarding.
Kite landboarding, which we were attached to a skateboard with really thick wheels, and then we had a wind and we were going on the beach, and it was pretty epic. It was pretty fun. But there is also Kapiti Island right here, which has some awesome wildlife as well. So you
could take a ferry.
Yeah, take a ferry to get there. But yeah, so there is a couple of nice things to do here. But then you can go up. So to go up to Gisborne, I think you should go from Central North and then go there. In my opinion, that's what you should be doing.
To go to Tokyo.
Yeah. So here you will have Taupo and Tongariro.
Yeah, sorry. So we go and this is Taupo.
Okay, so in Taupo there is two towns here. There is Taupo and Turangi. So there's New Zealand's largest lake. The views are absolutely fantastic. There is also the Tongariro National Park, which has the world famous Tongariro crossing. It also has some epic shorter hike. You get some really awesome waterfalls as well around. And on the lake, you can do some trout fishing. If you want to do some trout fishing, you can do some kayaking tours all the way to a Maori cabin, which is super gigantic and really awesome. So there's plenty of awesome things to do there. Yeah. There's also a few geothermal attractions to do there, but I'm strongly suspecting that you may be going to Gisborne and then back to Rotorua. So we'll leave that a little bit later. But then after, you can drive your way toward Napier right here. And what is there to do in Napier, Laura? Art Deco.
So Napier is a bit of a different looking town compared to the rest of New Zealand. It is known as the Art Deco capital, which is a style of architecture. To be honest, I didn't know what Art Deco was until I arrived at the Art Deco capital.
Have you seen any movies like Brazil, for example? There's the kind of Art Deco movement. It's very kind of 70s, these kind of things,
But yeah, in Napier, it is renowned for its wine. It's a winemaking region, so you can go and visit various wineries and just
prep for what happens in Gisborne.
That's about
there's some surfing as well. You can do some surfing nearby with a nice little tour. And there's also the Eastwood Hill Arboretum along somewhere in between both of them, right?
Yes, towards Gisborne.
So when going toward Gisborne, there's the Eastwood Hill Arboretum, which is basically the largest collection of exotic trees in the southern hemisphere, something like that.
I would recommend on your way to Gisborne as well.
The River Falls?
No, the Moruri Hot Springs.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the probably most underrated hot springs in New Zealand. Not many people seem to know about it, but it's really awesome. It's in a sort of recreational reserve, and then there are some you have to sort of walk through some beautiful sort of palm tree type forest to get to these little hot pools, which it's not usually busy. Not many people know about it. So this is a really awesome thing to do between Napier and Gisborne.
Yeah, so just type Morere, Morere on the search bar of the channel. You find our video on that. But yeah, that's a really good one. Actually,
Yeah.
I forgot about them as well. That's
I know.
crazy.
I could see that you might have forgotten them. I was just like,
No,
we have to mention them.
So yeah, so Eastwood Hill Arboretum. There is also the Rere Rock Slides as well, which is the one when you put your bodyboard and you go down the rock slide. It's really awesome. You probably have seen some video of that. And then you make your way to Gisborne. So here you go. I think that's a lot of little things to do along the way. Christine, let us know if you are happy with any of those, or if you're not, or if you have any follow-up questions, just tell us right now. And if it's helpful, make sure to click like. That's really, really helpful to us.
Yeah.
Athira Shetty says, hello, Robin and Laura. This is Athira from India. Wanted to know what are the parking fees generally in Auckland, Christchurch, Queenstown, ranging from lowest to costliest. Oh, wow. In Auckland, it goes up to $8 an hour at some point. So it's crazy. You always can find free parking depending how far you're going to go from somewhere. And the most expensive one you're going to find, usually it's about $8 an hour. And then you have something in between. I think you're usually going to be paying between $2 to $4 an hour on average. And there is also a lot of private parkings where you can pay for the whole day. It's going to be like $35 for the whole day or something like that. But yeah, that's about kind of what kind of fees you can expect in paying for parkings. The city center Auckland is one of the most expensive cities I've ever seen in my life to park in. It's absolutely crazy expensive. Yeah. But that's why most of the car rental companies and everything are out from the suburbs or from the airport. So like that, you don't, you go to town and use public transport, then you get those, your transportation and you leave. So yeah, that's usually how it works. But yeah. That's pretty much it. All right, guys. Well, it has been 1 hour that we spent with you, telling you everything about traveling in New Zealand. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for giving us so many questions, which we get to answer and help you with the trip. It's always awesome to have you on board. Thank you very much for subscribing, for liking. This channel is all about you and you rock. And we'll be back here next week at 8 a.m. New Zealand time, which is probably Saturday where you are. Saturday, it's 8 p.m. in the UK. Saturday at 9 p.m. in France, or 21h en France. In the USA, 3 p.m. EST, 12 p.m. PST on a Saturday. In India, it's 12:30 a.m. on the Sunday. We're very sorry. And in Australia, it's 6 a.m. in the Sunday morning as well. So thank you very much for anyone in India that wakes up or just stay up that late or early with us. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye, guys. See you next week.
Next week.
Bye-bye.